persecution and tribulation are going to be often very different from what you expect them to be. When we talk about persecution, tribulation, we are really believing that that's always going to be some physical threat. And it can be, absolutely. How many Christians have been physically martyred? But what we have to understand about tribulation is that it is so often spiritual. It is the contrariness of the world to God. And I don't just mean, the unbelievers. I mean everything that is opposed to what is really good. Everything that is opposed to fairness, to justice, to righteousness. That is what is contrary to God. And there's many ways that contrariness can come against us, can oppress us, can oppose us. In Hebrews 12:3, it says, "For consider him who endured such hostility from sinners against himself, lest you become weary and discouraged in your souls." The word hostility can mean contrariness. They're contrary, like it talks about the Jews who are contrary to mankind and displease God. It's that contrariness. And how were the Jewish people persecuting Jesus? They persecuted Jesus in the fact that they killed him. They persecuted him in a physical death. But if we look at the life of Jesus, it was that contrariness the entire way. It wasn't just them, planning to kill him. It was the way that they opposed what was really good. It was the way that they opposed what was reasonable, what was fair. Everything Jesus was showing them, they were opposed to him, and they were mocking him and troubling him and making it troubles for him all along the way. And what it was in that was how they weren't willing to receive what was really of God, what was really true and fair and good. Like you see this with the account of the Pharisees who are speaking evil of the disciples as they're eating the grain in the fields. It's because they are troubling these people. They're trying to trouble all the people around them with laws that are doing harm, that aren't really bringing life and goodness. They have no real understanding of life and goodness, and so that's bringing that opposition. It's all the ways of this opposition. It's not just a physical persecution. One example I will give of this real quick is in Mark 3, where Jesus is going into the synagogue and he wants to heal the man with the withered hand, and they are resisting him because he's going to heal on the Sabbath. Then he said to them, "Is it lawful on the Sabbath to do good or to do evil, to save life or to kill?" But they kept silent. It's that opposition. It's that opposition to what is really good. It's that opposition to what's reasonable and fair. I mean, they were willing to have this man. I mean, Jesus is traveling, right? So he's going to leave. They're willing to have this man spend the rest of his life with a crippled hand, then break out of their ideas of what the law says, they were opposed to good by their own religiousness. They were opposed to good by their own morals, those types of things. And they were ignorant of what was really good. It's that contrariness to what's truly good that is ultimately being that persecution. It's ultimately being that opposition to God and man. Last night I was reading about Nebuchadnezzar and how he was making this statue, this image that he wanted to command all the nations or the people to bow down to and worship. And I was just thinking about how this is what the heart of man really looks like so often, is the way people try and make rules and laws for people to obey, and they are so harmful and evil and contrary to what's a human dignity, what's humans' health and goodness. And this is the issue, is we expect persecution to come just in this way of, oh, people want to kill you because you believe in God, when persecution is that contrariness, and it can come in the form of people trying to get you to bow down to a false image of God, but it can come in any way that people are trying to bring you into a captivity to do what is against reason, what's against health, what is against true godliness, what is against true righteousness. And that is the spirit of sin. And that sin can show up in religion or outside of it. It's not, oh, it's the people outside of the church are just going to be the people who are doing that. The more you are trying to walk in righteousness and godliness, you come to see this contrariness in many ways opposing what is really healthy, what is really good, what is really fair and reasonable and true. And it's that heart of sin with Nebuchadnezzar and that false image that, I mean, how wicked is that? You're trying to make people bow down to a false god, and you're trying to so threaten people to do that you're going to throw them into a burning furnace if they refuse. I mean, that is wickedness, but that doesn't just exist in the areas of idolatry or false god. That exists in everywhere, in every place that people are trying to put that on people, contrary to what is against humanity's like dignity and life and in health, those things.